Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 5.
Breaking news tonight. The superintendent of Central Cass Public Schools says positive COVID-19 cases in the high school have increased to just under 3%, which means that 37% of the high school student body is considered to be in close contact with a positive person. The school district says these students are being closely monitored, and a recommendation will be made by the school board by the end of the week. Stick with Valley News Live as we learn more on this breaking story. 2 men are now safe after falling into a Minnesota lake. It happened around 10:30 this morning on the Upper Rice Lake, which is in southern Clearwater County. A man who made it to shore said that he and another man were duck hunting in kayaks when his partner fell over. He said he was unable to help him, but left a bag of duck decoys for him to hang on to. Rescue crews eventually found the man. He had been in the water for nearly an hour. Fargo police are now looking for a man who they say violated a protection order and then took off. It happened around 9 last night near 4th Avenue and 8th Street in the Hawthorne neighborhood. Authorities set up a perimeter to try and find him, but they were unsuccessful. A woman accused of stabbing her boyfriend in the groin in May is now slated to go to trial next year. 32-year-old Taryn Stately is charged with 1 count of murder with intent for the death of Keenan Poitra. Documents state that Stately lied to officers multiple times about what happened. Officers later executed a search warrant and found a bloody knife hidden in a garbage can. Stately then told officers after an argument she grabbed a steak knife from the kitchen and held it toward Poitra so he would stay away from her. Stately's trial is set for late April of next year. If you're not a fan of the wind, keep in mind it might be blowing all your leaves down your street, which is not a bad thing. Let's find out if the wind will die down this evening. Hutch has more now.
Well, much like last night, these winds that have gusted over 40 miles per hour in both Grand Forks and Fargo are expected to taper off a bit as we head towards sunset tonight. So yes, it will taper off. But our wind will be in the forecast again for tomorrow, as you've seen crawling across the bottom of your screen. 50s in northern Minnesota, in fact, low 50s for Baudette, and close to 60 here in Fargo and points in southeast North Dakota. Wind speeds are still over 30 miles per hour for a few of us as we head into the evening hours, and the clouds are pushing in once again from the west. So just like last night, we're going to see those clouds come in and limit our cooling, at least for one more night. Your planner in Fargo this evening, get out and enjoy. Winds decrease, clouds increase. We stay dry here in Fargo this evening, but overnight rain moves in. Tomorrow is a huge transition day. We're going to start really noticing cooler weather, and by Saturday, a chance of measurable snow appears to be more likely. It is a first alert weather day. I'll have details on this in your hour-by-hour forecast here in a few shivering moments.
All right, thanks, Hutch.
Yes.
A local farm truck driver is reminding others on the road to be more cautious as harvest season continues for the next few weeks. Valley News Team's crime and safety reporter, Bailey Hurley, talked with the driver today and the Highway Patrol, which says patience is the key to keeping everyone safe.
Annie Squires has only been hauling sugar beets and grain for Polson Farms for 4 years now, but she says she's already had her fair share of close calls.
The trailer flipped on its side, which made the cab flip on the driver's side, broke out my window, so I literally rode the asphalt for about 400 yards.
She says it's always important to drive defensively, but especially during harvest, as most farm equipment is large and slow moving.
You always have to be looking, watching, you know, other cars pulling out, cars pulling in front of you. I mean, when you're driving a semi that's like 80,000 pounds or more, and you're not going to be able to stop on a dime like you can like a little car. If you have to let a truck go by before you can turn out, that's all we're asking.
The North Dakota Highway Patrol says since August 1st, they've investigated 4 farm truck related crashes, but says thankfully no one has been seriously injured. Squire says in her experience, there isn't one sole cause for crashes involving farm equipment, saying you can't always point fingers at the same thing.
You don't know if that guy really knows how to drive a truck or not. You know, you might have a 16-year-old kid just got his license in that car that just made that truck go in the ditch. You never know.
And Squires urges you to follow her #1 rule. Don't get behind any wheel if you're not comfortable or prepared. In Chaffee, Bailey Hurley, Valley News Live.
The Minnesota State Patrol says in 2019 there were 144 farm equipment-related crashes in the state and says 4 of those were fatalities. Bail is now set at $750,000 for a man accused of leading Ottertail County deputies on a chase that killed a couple in their 70s in Fergus Falls. 30-year-old Cody Freitag is charged with 4 felonies, including 2 counts of criminal vehicular homicide and 2 counts of fleeing a police officer. Court records show Freitag was booked into jail on October 8th. Officials are now saying a fire caused $30,000 in damages to a home in Fergus Falls. It happened on Saturday. Emergency crews say the deck and back side of the home were engulfed in flames. There's fire damage in the kitchen and smoke damage throughout the house. The 2 people inside got out safely. There's no word yet on a cause. Health officials in North Dakota are reporting that Cass County has 160 new positive COVID-19 cases. The next highest county is Burley with 109 cases. 12 new deaths are also reported in the state. We have a breakdown of the newly released numbers scrolling on the bottom of your screen and at valleynewslive.com. Scientists are looking to a creature that's 450 million years old to help get developing a coronavirus vaccine. That's because of a unique blood clotting feature in the horseshoe crab. As Tom Hansen reports, this new focus may actually help conservation efforts for the ancient creature.
These animals have been on the planet for over 445 million years, give or take a week or 2 in there.
Scientist John Tanacredi has dedicated his life to studying these so-called living fossils. He runs the Center for Environmental Research and Coastal Oceans Monitoring Program at Molloy College, the largest horseshoe crab breeding lab in the Western Hemisphere. His team tracks 115 beaches around Long Island. They say the horseshoe crab population is in dire straits.
How much time are we looking at here before we lose horseshoe crabs?
I'd say the next 10 years.
Pharmaceutical companies have relied on these prehistoric creatures for decades, to the dismay of conservationists. It's all because of how their blue blood keeps them safe, a unique feature that helps scientists quickly detect deadly bacterial toxins. John Dubček is an executive director at Charles River Laboratories.
The horseshoe crab blood is exquisitely sensitive to these endotoxin pyrogens.
You've likely never heard of these dangerous toxins, but it all started with a professor at Johns Hopkins University named Dr. Frederick Bang. In 1956, he observed a horseshoe crab become naturally infected with Vibrio bacteria, and then witnessed the crab's blood actually clotting around that bacteria.
If they get injured, the amoebocytes recognizes these bacteria. They recognize it as an opportunity of infection, so they clot.
That reaction became the basis for this test, which checks for bacterial contamination in any medical product that goes into the body before the manufacturer ships them out, including IV drugs, heart valves, and yes, vaccines.
We have a 450 million year old creature that for the last 45 years has improved the safety of medicines for humans and animals.
In the U.S., limits have been put on how many horseshoe crabs can be harvested each year. And while the humble horseshoe crab cells can be removed with no apparent harm to the creatures, studies show biomedical harvesting, overfishing for bait collection, and coastal development are causing a drop in the population, raising major questions about their survival.
Once you lose them, they're gone. Extinction is forever.
Officials say with a global push for a COVID-19 vaccine, horseshoe crabs are once again in the spotlight, and a lot of people hope that will help with conservation efforts. United Way of Cass Clay is putting together baskets of supplies to help those who are homeless transition into their new homes. They're called Home for Good baskets, and they're filled with essential items for the kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom. Within our area, over 1,000 people are considered homeless, with 23% of them being children or youth. Volunteers are creating 100 baskets to help out.
One of the things that individuals, as they move into housing, have said is it feels lonely when they move in, or it feels bare. It does, I didn't know that I needed shower curtains, or I didn't know that I was going to need pots and pans. And so that can be often traumatic for individuals, especially if they lack transportation, that now they may have to go and walk to get all these supplies.
The United Way hopes to prevent homelessness for 90% of families by the year 2023. Members of the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case are still wanting to speak about it, but the state is saying not so fast. That's later on Valley News Live at 5.
Average temperatures in Fargo this time of the year, upper 50s. Today, 61 windy degrees. In Grand Forks, we hit 57. Much colder air for the remainder of the week and measurable snow on the way for us on Saturday. I'll have hour-by-hour details right after this.